To kind of start off this session, I would not directly get into explaining what design thinking is. I would like to start out by asking you a question. I think I should better introduce myself in kind of my own words as well. Sorry, I'm a little nervous here. Have a tendency of doing this in front of, live people, not as in a virtual world, but sitting in front of me. So I'm an educator, designer, and a career counselor. And as Thomas did say that I am majorly into design, so much into design that I'm currently pursuing my PhD into it. And I certainly believe in achieving harmony between passion, purpose, and profession. And I'm also a Sandoku practitioner. If you really want to know what that is, you can drop me a message in the chat box. Okay, so what do you think you are? Do you think that you are a designer? I would like you to kind of come up with questions regarding this pencil and make them as crazy as you can. So can somebody help me with a few questions on the chat box? Or if you would like to unmute yourself, you can do that too.
So I can probably start, and then maybe we have some more questions coming.
Yeah, please.
So I'm not sure if this is the right question. So you want me to ask questions around this pencil itself, right? So
yeah, anything. You see this pencil in front of you, anything that comes into your mind, why is it yellow? Why does it need to have a eraser at the back of it?
Why does it need to have sides that are cut out like that? Why can't it be completely circular?
Okay. What else? Why do we use lead?
Why is it yellow?
Yeah, why is it yellow? And why do we need to use lead? Why cannot we use coal or some other kind of material for the center? Why does it have to be wood? So questions like these. So this is what actually what designers do. We ask a lot of questions, and these questions don't really need to make sense because design is breaking path. It is about creating something that has never really existed before. So if you're looking at the ridges of a pencil, they are made for a better grip. So if it's a round pencil, you notice that if you're using that pencil for longer periods of time, it makes your hands sweaty and you have a tendency of losing grip. So that is the reason why it's, it is ridged. As far as the yellow is concerned, maybe yellow color was a preference so that you could easily spot it and use it, or maybe it was related to branding. All these things, they do not come about randomly. Everything that is part of design completely thought out. It has a particular reason behind it, right? So you need to understand that we are all designers here. We just want to do better. We want that we should take all these little things and make it into something substantial. That is what design aims at. And when we are talking about things, it could not only mean a product or a service. It could also mean the person as well. So that means that you can make yourself better when you decide to use design thinking, or when you decide to use design as a process and apply it to yourself. So this is what all we will be covering today. That this is where you're going to be investing your next hour in. In the next hour, you will be getting a taste of what makes everything around you possible. So you need to understand that anything that you can see around you or can hold is basically a product of design. We won't be taking a deep dive today, and this will be just a trailer or teaser into the limitless possibilities this design process or this design thinking can offer you. Your takeaway from today will be a mindset change and as to how to approach problems. It will nurture new abilities and some specific design methods. All of this is possible, but it has some terms and conditions attached to it. So the terms and conditions are that you have to keep an open mind. Think of yourself as a 5-year-old who was curious about everything, questioned everything, did not judge anything before, asking questions, and was open to new experiences. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is pretty much similar to a game. Has anybody ever played Snakes and Ladders before? That is a completely rhetorical question. I know everybody has played Snakes and Ladders before. What I'm trying to say is that it is a game similar to Snakes and Ladders, because there's going to be lots and ups and downs. You're going to fail. You're going to go up to 98 and then get bit by the snake and fall down again. So that is what it is. And why I'm comparing it to Snakes and Ladders, because it is fun at the same time. So, and this process of design thinking, it is not only used by designers, it is used by everyone in a professional field, and even by laymen as well. We just don't know that how much of it we use it, but we have a tendency of using it. And designers were not the one who came up with design thinking. Economists, engineers, marketing professionals, designers, all of them contributed into making it what it is. Design thinking, I'm reading the quote, design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements for business success. Now, this was said by Tim Brown, and he's the president and CEO of Ideate. So Ideate is taken from the word idea, and Ideate is one of the most popular known companies in the design sphere that brought design thinking to mainstream. It was all inside cubicles and brainstorming rooms where design existed, but Ideate made it possible for it to be known by laymen as well. So the end goal of design thinking is to make the end users life better. So whoever your user is, whatever problem that they are facing, a designer's job is to make their life better. Let me introduce you to the stages of design thinking. So it is divided into these 5 steps. Now it might look as like a linear model that you go from one step to the next, to the next, to the next. But I'm sorry, it doesn't really work like that. It is easier to explain it to you in a stepwise method, but when you're using it, you will realize that it's always a good idea to take a step back and get more perspective and then go at it again. So the first stage is empathize, then the second is define, the third is ideate, fourth is prototype, and the last one is test. I will explain each stage more elaborately as we go along. But before that, I would like to have a small activity. I just don't want to keep going on and on about it. I would actually like to show it to you that how it works. So for this activity, it's called Superhero. It's a very simple, fun activity. So if I can get a volunteer, that would be great. What happens in this activity is that one person becomes a superhero and one person becomes a sidekick. So superhero, they have these special, amazing powers. They have a tendency of knowing everything. So the sidekick will come to the superhero and tell the superhero, I have this problem, and the superhero will offer a solution. And the sidekick has to take that solution, figure out the problem within it, and offer it back to the superhero. So can I please have a volunteer for either the superhero or the sidekick or both?
Again, if no one volunteers, then I'm. Oh yeah, awesome. So Isha is volunteering. You can go ahead.
Great. Isha, can you please unmute yourself, and would you tell me, would you like to be the superhero or the sidekick?
Anyone you give me, it's fine.
Okay, so the sidekick gets to ask the questions and the superhero gets to answer the questions. So what would you like to do? Would you like to answer the questions or would you like to ask the questions?
I'll ask the questions.
You'll ask the questions. So that means I would be the superhero and you'll be the sidekick. Okay, so you go. Just come up with a problem and come to the superhero and say, for example, superhero, the house is on fire and the fire trucks are not arriving soon. You know, something very random. Come up with a problem and throw it at the superhero.
Superhero, it's raining so much today. The roads are very flooded.
All right, no problem. Stay at home. So you need to come back with another question because you're not really happy with the answer.
But I need to go out for work.
I'm pretty sure your boss would understand that no work can be done in such a condition.
But I took a leave. I took 5 leaves before, so I can't today.
Okay, that is troublesome. Maybe you could wear gumboots and raincoat and then go to work.
Yeah.
You
Found my
cannot say yeah. No, you have okay, so no problem. But we had a
I
good
have one more
run.
problem for that also.
Yeah, please.
I don't find gumboots very comfortable.
Fine, you don't find gumboots very comfortable. How about you wear your normal shoes and slip on those really big plastic bags onto it so that you can save your shoes and not get wet?
I want something which is more sustainable. I don't like plastic.
So see what is happening here. The superhero is completely run out of answers. So I'm going to hide my face in shame. So that is what is happening when you're not using the design process and you're looking at problems from only one perspective. You are just thinking about that what might be the possible solution. You're not really thinking about that what the person actually wants. And that is what the empathize stage is for, where you take a break, you take a minute, and you completely get into what the other person wants. So you walk in their shoes, not in the gumboots, but whatever the shoes they're wearing. So you walk in their shoes for a mile, you understand how they are feeling, what they are feeling, if they are having a problem, what is causing the problem, how you can get a better understanding of that problem. So that is what empathize does. It is a discovery stage, it is an understanding stage. It kind of you just completely take a deep dive into the problem. Okay, so this is time for a poll, and can we please have the poll? For people who are watching this stream later on YouTube, you can use your pen and paper now and jot down your answer on the pen and paper.
So launched, I hope everyone can see the poll. Aeti, can you?
Yes.
So I would request everyone who's attending to, if you can see the poll on your screen, please answer the questions. Cool. So we've started getting our first answers. All right, so here are your results.
Okay, great. So can you see that there is no clear winner? The reason why there is no clear answer to such a question is because the world is not as simple, and so are our problems. They're not as simple as they seem. It's always ambiguous meaning that it is open to interpretation, and everybody has their own way of interpreting it. So it is always a good idea to go completely into it and understand it from each and every perspective. It is always more complex than it sounds. It's never that straightforward. So for understanding our users better, it is always to ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are that lead to more questions. Instead, close-ended questions are which are, is it true or false, yes or no? Those are your close-ended questions, and open-ended questions are that ask the person to talk more about what they are feeling and what their problem is. Because until and unless you have figured out what the problem is, you'll never be able to design a proper solution for that problem. And for design thinking, or the design to work properly, you should have a complete handle on what the problem is. Only then you will be able to move to the next stage and figure out the best idea to fix that problem. Okay. So before we move on to the define stage, would somebody like to volunteer a problem? You can leave it in the chat box, or you can simply raise your hand and talk about it. And as when I'm asking you for a problem, it could be anything. It could be anything related to your either day-to-day life. It could be something related to your career. For example, I'm really good with the sciences. Should I take medical or non-medical? So you just need to come up with a problem. I'm guessing nobody has a problem. Their life is pretty good for everyone. So let's move forward.
I can share one problem. I feel really sleepy when I'm reading.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So this person feels really sleepy when he's reading. So what would be the best way of understanding this? The best way would be, would you be willing to answer a few questions first and foremost?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I will run by only 3 questions because we are in a very short workshop. But if it were a real life scenario, you can ask as many questions as you want. What makes you sleepy? Do your eyes hurt, or do you find the content really boring?
No, I've tried with multiple types of books. Usually the books I read are the ones I'm interested in. But I've not been able to go beyond 2-3 pages without like just snoozing off.
Then why are you reading the books in the first place if you are not interested in them?
No, I am interested in them, but I fall asleep. I mean, probably somewhere, I am maybe tired and I want to consume content as well at the same time.
So have you tried changing the timing of when you open the book, as in instead of reading during after having your food, I mean lunch or dinner? Have you tried doing it in the morning, or have you tried a different timing?
For the sake of this conversation, I'll say no. I have not tried a different timing.
Okay, so have you tried because it is more about you absorbing the content rather than flipping through the pages. Have you tried audiobooks?
For the sake of this conversation, yes, I'll say no. I haven't tried audiobooks.
Okay, so cool. Can you see that where this is going? That you need to kind of ask and go about all the aspects of the problem, and then that takes you to the define stage. When your teacher asks you that okay, this is a word, and you define it, you normally have a tendency of looking at the dictionary, or if you know the answer to it, you write a very elaborate answer. You take that one word and you describe it fully. So that is what is happening at the define stage, where you have taken all the information that you have gathered so far. So in our case of would it be better to take medical or non-medical, or when the person is trying to read a book, it makes them sleepy. So whatever information that you have gathered so far, you elaborate it and you define it in a problem statement. So this is what a problem statement is. You can refer to your worksheet here. It's on page number 13. So as you can see, on page number 13, it states problem statement, and this is how you will fill it. The first blank space after the I is for the name of the person. So this person feels, this is where you input the negative feeling that they are feeling about the reason or cause of those feelings, and this space needs to be filled by the steps they think that they can take, but the reason that they can't take them. So all the information that you have taken out so far is filled out in this problem statement, and that gives you, in words. And now you need to bring out ideas to figure out all the things that are relevant, that are coming up in this problem statement. So this is where you're analyzing it, and the problem statement makes it easier to analyze it. So how do you think designers come up with solutions? We are working so hard, we are asking problems. At times we need to figure out, designers need to figure out the problems on our own when we are trying to break through into a completely new market with startups and disrupting services. So that's when we figure out the problems on our own. But most of the times we are given those problems. Say, for example, you're a graphic designer and a client comes to you and says that I want a logo designed. So it is never as simple as that. You have to design a logo. You need to actually sit down with the client and understand why they need the logo and all the other aspects for it. So how do you think, what makes, because as you remember, I said that each one of us is a designer. So what do you think that makes us designers different? So for that, we have another poll. Can we have the poll, please?
Sure, Aeti. Just a second. So I hope you can see the poll now.
Yes, the poll is visible. We have 2 out of 3 answers, and the poll has ended.
So Aeti, these are your final results.
Yes. So the final results, as you can see, we have people who have said that they think they are creative and they know for sure that being creative does not mean being good at drawing. So that is great. You kind of saved me a lot of explanation. But for those people who are not here and will be watching this stream later, I would like to explain it to them that creativity is quite complex, and you might think that only few of us are blessed with creativity, but that is not the case, as I would like to show you via a few examples here that what creativity can look like. So on the top there is Mangalyaan, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you must have seen the movie Mission Mangal. So you saw that how much creativity those scientists put into coming up with this satellite. And science and creativity, they are not normally considered conducive with each other. But that is what I'm trying to explain it to you, that creativity is everywhere. It doesn't really mean that you need to be an artist or a designer to be creative. You can apply creativity to anything. And we Indians have always been known for jugaad. So that is basically an epitome of creativity. This is graphic design, and this is furniture design. So creativity is not limited to a few of us. It is available in all of us, and it has got nothing to do with how well we paint or we dance or um, we sing. Creativity can be in anything. So let me take you 2 steps back and talk about the stage of what this stage does. So the brainstorm stage or the ideate stage is where we designers come up with crazy ideas. We brainstorm and whatever ideas we have. Remember when we were talking about the pencil and I told you to just ask anything that came into your mind? That is what happens when we are brainstorming, that we come up with all these crazy and not so crazy ideas, because to have that one good idea you need to have so many more ideas. And ideating always works best when it is done in a collaborative environment, when you're using each other as inspiration, and you're finding what works well and what doesn't work well. And it's always a great idea to use visual thinking like sketching, drawing, doodling, etc. And if you notice your worksheet that I have provided, that there's a lot of space for you to doodle, and it really doesn't matter if you're not good at drawing. These spaces are just to ideate. As long as you can explain your idea to someone, it doesn't really matter if you are Van Gogh or not. So moving on to the next stage, which is prototype. Okay, so you don't really need to unmute yourself to answer, but you can answer this, to yourself, that if it's your birthday, right? If it's your birthday and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, happy birthday, I got you a present, and it looks like this, and it works like this, it is in blue color, and it weighs 3 kilos. Do you think that works as a present for you? Or if somebody were to come up to you and actually hand you that present, so what works better? Explaining that what the present is, or actually having or holding that present in your hand? So that is what prototyping is. So once you have decided on your ideas, you have come up with those 3 main ideas. If you look at your worksheet, you come up with those 3 main ideas and pick out the best one out of that lot. You take that idea and you prototype it, because when you are actually solving a problem, you cannot tell the person that, okay, this is how I solved your problem. You have to give them a solution. It needs to be something workable, just like the present that you want to hold in your hand on your birthday. So it has to be something actionable, and that is what prototyping does. That you need to have something that is actionable. And once you have something actionable, you have put it into your clients or whatever your user is in their hand, that brings you to the test stage. I know all of us are really scared of this word test. Nobody likes it, but basically what test means is feedback. And that is what our schools are also trying to do. They have taught us so many things, and they just want to see how much we have learned. So it is just really feedback. So you have spent so much time understanding, researching, creating, doodling, and all of that, just so that you can make somebody's life better. Now, how would you know if you've done a good job or not? Or did you happen to miss something and you need to fix that problem again, or you want to close that gap? So the best idea is to get feedback. And the only way to get feedback is once the person is using it and you are asking them questions that, does it work well, or does it work well or not? So once you've handed over your idea to them, you wait for them to use it. And it is important for you to not explain how it works. If you have to explain how it works, that means it doesn't work. Because it needs to be so simple It needs to be so simple that they hold it in their hand and they know that, okay, this is what it is for. So if somebody would actually have to, give you a mop and then tell you that you have to kind of wipe it on the floor, it doesn't work like that. You see a mop and you know that what it is supposed to do. So that is what design is, that it's simple, it's easy to use, and nobody needs to explain it to you. Okay. And then once you have given it to them in their hand, you need to listen to what they have to say, take their feedback, make it better. And you need to understand that when you're getting feedback, it is not failing. It is learning to do things better, because nobody can do it perfectly in the first time. And once you have your feedback, you might need to step back. So you might need to go back to prototyping, where you're fixing your design. You might need to go back to ideating, where you are running through your ideas again. Or you could go back to your top 3 ideas, remix them, rehash them, come up with a brand new idea, then go back to prototyping again. So remember snakes and ladders? We talked about snakes and ladders. So that is what is happening here. So once you get to the feedback stage, there's where you know that if it's working or not. And it is always a good idea to fail early. Now, why are we talking about failing? Okay, so imagine that if it were an idea for a startup, for a product or a service, and if you decide to completely skip on the feedback part or not listen to your user, what is going to happen? You are going to have a minimal viable product or MVP, and you are going to put it out in the market and nobody is going to buy it. How much time, effort, money do you end up losing? So it is always a good idea to fail early. Accept it, change it, modify it, make it better, and then put it out there. That makes it more, it kind of gives you a surety that it will succeed. So failing early is always a good idea. So with this step, you either decide to implement the solution and see how much success it gets, or you go back a few steps and make the required changes. Now, this is where my presentation ends, and this were the 5 stages of design thinking. I hope you understood them, but trust me, even if you did not, there's nothing wrong with you, because understanding the concept in one go can be complex, and that is the very reason why you have the worksheet with you. It will also be put in the description box if you were to stream it later, so you can access it via a Google Drive link. So use the worksheet, go through the steps, work them, rework them, and over a few trial and errors, you'll see that this will start working for you. So this is the time that if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them.
So as you said, this was a trailer. So will we get a second session with you?
I think IDC is in a better position to answer that question.
I'm sure we can look at another session as well. How soon and what is the topic that will be covered? One is depending on Ms. Aeti's availability. Second is, if you have something specific in mind, you can let us know today, and we can probably create a session to be able to address your needs at least. How does that sound, Isha?
Yeah, I think most of our concerns would be like career options and everything in design.
Okay.
If we have figured out that we want that, so what are the steps that we must take afterwards now?
So I think ma'am can probably answer that right away, and then subsequently we can look at a session focusing on design specific careers. I think that should be possible, right, Aeti?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll leave it to you to answer the question, and meanwhile I'll scout YouTube to see if there are any queries from other viewers.
Right. So Isha, please.
So, like, I think fashion communication is a very known course, but I'd like to know the difference between fashion communication and communication design.
See, communication design is not really straightforward. It is quite complex, and it has so many branches within it. Even graphic design falls within communication design. Print design, that means when you're looking at a magazine or a journal, so that also falls under communication design. Communication design is you're designing something. It most likely is digital. So you're designing something that communicates an idea or communicates your belief system to the person looking at it, just like in graphic design. So that is what communication design is. Even movies, so if you're looking at animation, if you're looking at movies, they also fall under communication design. So as you can see, communication design is quite broad. It is not only that one thing, it is pretty broad, and then you're going to pick a specification or specialization in it. As far as fashion communication is concerned, that is pretty specialized in itself, that it is related to fashion. Right, Isha?
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So any other questions that you would have?
So as you said, like there are like we can pick up certain aspects from communication design. So what would be those? Like what comes under communication design?
So as I told you, there communication design, there are a lot of specializations under it. And as far as the specialization is concerned, I really cannot answer that question without kind of going through your psychometric assessment, or sitting down with you and asking you that what you favor and what you not favor. So it's not really a straightforward question that can be answered like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Any questions regarding the presentation or the design thinking process? Was it clear for you? Does it confuse you, or any questions regarding it?
Yeah, so I kind of got it, like, but I'll go through the worksheet and I'll do it by myself. So then I'll be more clear, I think.
Yeah, that would be great. If you noticed, at the end of the worksheet, I have provided my email address and a link as well. So what you can do is, if you want a feedback on the worksheet, because you need to understand that feedback, I consider these are the top two stages while you're going through the design process. For me, my personal favorites is empathizing stage, where you're spending time with your user to completely understanding them. You can do that for yourself as well, where you're asking yourself the questions that you don't normally ask yourself. So for the person who asked that, when I'm reading books, it makes me sleepy. So the person never really stopped to ask why does it make them sleepy. Is it triggered by any particular amount of light, or any particular topic, or is it after having a meal? So a person never really asked themselves those questions. So empathize stage is like the best stage, where you are asking all the whys, not from only one singular point, but from a lot of points altogether. And then comes the feedback stage, because feedback makes it all fun, because now you're involving many more people and seeing that what you've worked hard on is working or not. Okay, so there is something on the screen, and
That's me.
yeah, I understood. I was just going to say that for people who are here on Zoom, and people watching on YouTube, and people coming in later to watch this on YouTube, I would like to thank you for taking this time and becoming a part of this workshop. Please remember that please do not be focused on the outcome, but unlocking the potential, because this is not about the end result for you. It is about the end result for the user that you are taking, but for you it is not about the end result. It is about unlocking the potential, because once you do that, automatically you'll start using and reusing it over and over again. and you can use it according to your need. It is about having a creative mindset and putting those creative gears into motion. So once you learn this philosophy, you know how to keep an open mind and repeat it as needed. Again, mentioning it, the worksheet is linked in the description below. And once Ms. Thomas has done sharing this small little presentation, we would like to do a very small feedback activity regarding this workshop. So I'll return.
So Iti, I've shared the feedback link on YouTube and on the chat here. I would request all the participants to share their feedback on the session, and also for the worksheet, there's a feedback link like ma'am had mentioned after the end of the session of the feedback sheet or the worksheet that you probably received either on the YouTube description, or you probably received on WhatsApp, or you probably received it on mail. So thank you very much for that very interactive session, Iti. On popular demand, we probably hope to see you doing another version of this pretty soon. And thank you everyone for joining in for the session today. We will continue to have these sessions every Saturday at 4 p.m. And if any of you who have attended the session want to be part of the live sessions where you want to be able to interact with the speaker, then I would suggest you can directly join in from the Zoom link. I think Zoom links are shared with all of our students who are part of our counseling programs. If any of you who have logged in today who need career guidance, I would request you to go through idreamcareer.com and reach out to one of our career advisors, and you can probably see what kind of guidance programs would be suitable for your specific requirements basis the classes that you're studying in right now. So very largely speaking, the kind of programs that we offer on career guidance range from having multiple sessions over 1 to 2 to 3 years to sessions where you might require 2 individual counseling sessions with the counselor, or maybe 1 counseling session as well. And some of you might require overseas guidance. Some of you may require skill-based learning programs. Like today's session on design thinking is one to be able to enable you with a certain tool and certain skill sets as well. So we have pretty extensive programs under the IDX Youth Entrepreneurship Program was one of the ones that we launched recently, and we would continue to have programs there as well. So if some of you need career guidance, all these programs kind of cover a psychometric assessment with the career assessment report and at least 1 individual counseling session with the counselor, and that could increase depending on your requirements. So if you feel the need to contact us, you can either reach out to us through Instagram or probably call us on the number given here, or probably drop in an email on support@idreamcareer.com. Once again, thank you everyone for joining in for the session today. Thank you very much, Iti. Very indebted to you for having such a lovely program design. And thank you for everyone for joining in. We hope to see you again next week at 4. The topic for next week would be overseas education, and we would be focusing on UK and Europe geographies for colleges around those areas, and what are the different methods to be able to apply and prepare your applications for them. We would have 2 senior counselors, Ms. Parmita and Ms. Shilpa, who would be taking you all through the session next week at 4. So thank you everyone, and hope to see you again next week. Have a nice evening.
Before we leave, I'm going to leave you with this. You can leave this in the YouTube comments. This is a longer version of the feedback, but it is very important to do that. What were the highlights for today, a challenge that you experienced, and something that you would like to learn more about.